Hi, today I'm gonna make a lesson with regards to English grammar, especially nouns. I am using a book that is titled "The Everything Spanish Grammar: All the Rules You Need to Master Español." This book is by the author Julie Gooden. The reason I use this book is because it's non-authentic, meaning that in this book I'm gonna find rules to English that would help a new learner learn Spanish in the context of what is considered proper Spanish, or in other words, formal. The book is well structured. Um, what makes this non-authentic material is that it's structured to a point that all you have to do is take what you need and just apply it or insert it into your lesson. Um, there, the grammar is not gonna be shifting from one type of grammar to another type of grammar like you would find in a in a authentic material. Authentic material is uses Spanish in this case, the way it will be spoken by naturally by everyday people. But in this case, the book is designed for those that are not native to the language. Uh, this would be a good book for people that are English speakers natively and that want to learn a second language like is Spanish in this case. So the book is gonna help me deliver the lesson for my Spanish speaking class. And this is what I intend to do today, to give a class based on the lesson that this book provides. And the lesson today is going to be based on nouns. Well, what about nouns? It's gonna be based on their gender and the definite article that is found in Spanish. So, what makes it unique? What makes you as a person unique is a better question. Uh, Having a personality, a different way of thinking, and seeing things differently. Perhaps the way you dress or the unique taste for raw onions. Yeah, that last thing I mentioned is definitely not me. But all these things make someone different or unique in a certain way. And having Spanish, having its nouns having gender, something that is rare or not found in English, makes it unique. And not just gender, but it's definite articles. Um, Something that is shareable between English and Spanish because they have pretty much the same article but in different ways. It's something that we're gonna look throughout this lesson. So, sorry. The nouns in Spanish and how they are categorized by gender are unique if you compare them to the English nouns. There are some nouns in English that by default can be considered either masculine or feminine. We notice this by looking at the words, or better said, we can notice this by looking at the words like sister and brother. If you were to ask a person or even a kid whether the word is feminine or masculine, or whether he or she thought that those words meant masculine or feminine, that person most likely said that the word implies to be feminine in the case of sister. And of course, we're talking about English in this case, English noun. So the word sister implies it to be feminine. What about the word that don't imply those kind of things, like sex in other nouns? Let's say the word chair. Chair, like all the other nouns that don't specify being male or female, don't have gender. And we can see that in the word chair. So in Spanish, the noun works quite different. In Spanish, the gender, the noun actually said, has a gender. And by gender, we mean whether a noun is feminine or masculine. Now, let's define what a noun is. A noun is any word that names a person, place, or thing. Let's say for person, we'll say Manuel, or maybe another person that does a type of job. Let's say doctor. Or by place, we say Nueva York, as in New York, or Durango, as a state, as in a state in Mexico, one of the many states of Mexico. Or a thing, let's say mesa, as in table, or elefante, as in elephant, meaning an animal. So now gender, whether masculine or feminine, is not derived from sexual personifications that a noun may have, or qualities a word might have. So it's just part of grammar found in Spanish. That's what it is. In Spanish, grammar in nouns, they have to specify whether that noun is either masculine or feminine. Why is the importance of figuring out if a noun is masculine or feminine? Just like in English, Spanish has definite articles. And definite articles must agree with the gender of the noun. So we have to determine whether a noun is feminine or masculine in order to agree to the article, which we'll be looking articles in a moment and see how they are important when putting them together with nouns. As you notice, I said articles. Why? Because in English it's quite simple. The definite article is just one, the. But in Spanish we have 4 types of different articles, which we look at throughout this lesson. And we will see how they combine with the nouns. So, talking really quick about the nouns, actually the articles, we have 4. We said the 4 is el, la, los, and las. The function of the noun is really simple. It's to tell me whether the function actually, sorry, I'm going back. The function of the article, el, la, los, las, is to tell me whether the noun is feminine or masculine. Even if I wasn't sure whether the noun was masculine or feminine, just by looking at the article, I will get a general idea what the gender of that noun is. So let's take the word silla, which is the noun for chair in English. Just by looking at the word, can you determine whether it's feminine or masculine? No. There's no article that tells me, that helps me, that points to it whether it's feminine or masculine. Let me give you some nouns and try to notice a pattern in them. El dedo, la uña. So, just in case you're wondering what is el dedo, it's just the word for finger. But as you notice, noun finger in English doesn't have a noun, but in Spanish, dedo does have a noun. So, el dedo, la uña, which is the nail, el vaso, which will be the cup that you use to drink water from, la taza will be the mug that you use to drink coffee from, hilo is the thread that is used to put the shirt together. La aguja is the metal that you put a thread through it to sew this up, in order to sew this up. El cubierto is just like the fork that you used to eat pasta with. And la cuchara, which is spoon, the one you use to bring soup from your plate to your mouth. So, el dedo, la uña, el vaso, la taza, el hilo, la aguja, el cubierto, la cuchara, el zapato, which is the noun for shoe, and la chancla, which is the noun for flip-flop or sandals, whatever you want to call them. So, have you noticed something like a repetitive pattern in all of these nouns? So I'm just gonna mention two pairs, so you can, and I'm gonna enunciate some parts of it, so you can notice the difference in the two sets. El dedo, el vaso, la uña, la taza. Have you noticed the pattern, the difference? What is the pattern that you see in those nouns? Their word ending. Yes, their word ending. And probably the article, but the most noticeable part in this nouns is the word ending. What are the word endings? Just listen to them again. El dedo. What letter does it end with? It ends with the letter O. La uña. It ends with the letter A. So the article, the noun having an ending is telling me that the noun is either masculine or feminine, but the article that comes along with it tells me and verifies that the word is either a feminine or masculine. So the article tells me two things about the noun. One is the gender and the number. Again, by gender we mean it's either masculine or feminine, and by number we mean if it's singular or plural. So basic rule for word ending in O are most likely masculine, and words ending with an A are most likely feminine. I said most likely because later on you will notice that this doesn't apply for everything. I'm trying to explain it to you in a moment. Let's look at this chart that I made. It says el, la, lo, las. So for el, the gender is masculine and the number is singular. La, the gender is feminine and the number is singular as well. Los, the gender is masculine, but the number now is plural. Las, the gender is feminine, but the number now is plural as well. So now we look at this chart, and it's something that you should memorize, and actually it's gonna help you to determine the endings of some genders and what makes them feminine, masculine, and the article that points to the noun, telling you that the noun is feminine or masculine. Well, there are what about the nouns that end in other letters besides the O or the A, as in the word cafe? How can you tell whether that is a feminine article? Yeah, cafe is another word for coffee, and it's a noun. Cafe, it could mean actually two things. It could mean a hot beverage that you buy at Starbucks, or it could mean the color of a color, like brown. It's another word for brown, actually. So, what about this noun? This noun doesn't end in A or O, so there's no way you can tell whether this is a feminine or masculine. Or what about the nouns that break the rules entirely, as in the noun problema? Notice that it ends in an A, and you might say, according to the rules that I gave you before, and basic rule is that if it ends with an A, then the noun is most likely to be a female. But in this case, the noun problema is el problema, which makes it a masculine. So it doesn't matter. So moving on, it doesn't matter, if you can notice, it doesn't matter entirely if the noun ends in an O or an A. What makes it masculine or feminine, which will be a determiner whether it's going to be, the noun is going to be a feminine or masculine, will be the article. Since we talk about gender being singular as well as plural, how do you turn them into their plural form? Here are some tips to help you deal with that. Actually, I'm going to take that back. Actually, we're going to talk first about some tips to help you deal with when it comes to figuring out whether something is masculine or feminine, and it doesn't end with an A or an O. So a general rule will be, if a noun ends with an S, like el his, which is a word for chalk, or the noun ends with an OR, as in el comedor, which is for dining room, sorry, or ends with an MA, as in el sistema, a word for system, all of this will be considered masculine. But if the noun ends with a CION, as la elección, which is a word for election, ends with a DAD, as in la comunidad, with community, ends with a ORA, as in doctora, which is a word for female doctor, this will be considered feminine. This is just a general rule. The only way you're gonna be able to figure them out is by being exposed to them in actual context, by listening and actually giving it a try. So when you come across a native speaker of Spanish, that person will be able to correct you. But there are also exceptions to the rule. The only way to cope them is by memorizing them, such as dia, which is they. Some will say it's feminine because it ends with an A. It has an A ending, but it's actually masculine. So it will be el dia, not la dia. Other words like such are the word el mapa, which is map, la mano, which is hand, y la moto, which is short for motorcycle. So really quick, going back to definite articles, one way you can notice if a noun is singular or plural, even if there is no mention of the article. Remember, the article tells you two things, gender and number, and by whatever the noun has at the end. So some of the nouns, you will be able to tell whether they are singular or plural as well by looking at the ending. What ending? Just like in English, it has an S ending. So let's look some of the singular and plural forms of that. Some of these nouns will be uña, uñas, gente, gentes, comedor, comedores, matón, matones. In uña, it has an A ending. That's simple. We just add an S. Guante, it has an E ending. We just add an S to make it plural. But in comedor, it has an R. In matón, it has an N. So a pattern here is that a noun that ends in a vowel, all you have to do is add an S at the end, and there you go. You have your plural form. But a noun that has not a vowel, like RN, all you have to do is add an ES, and there you'll have the noun. So keep practicing, and you'll be having your nouns agreeing with your articles in all time. Thank you.